Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's hot and tasty episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick, and my goodness, this is going to be an amazing show. We have breaking news. We're going to be talking some Bloodborne, and of course, we're going to be talking about what you guys and gals love to do, and that's gaming. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time to hang out with us on this awesome Monday evening. And you know what? Without a panel that's stacked like we have tonight, I couldn't put on any of these shows. So we're going to get right into the introductions. And most people here don't need them, but they're going to get them anyway. We're going to start off with our good friend. You know him as the raunchiest gamer all on the planet, but also he's actually one of the community's finest, always trying to put a community gaming session together, reaching out to others in a time where we need to be reached out and potentially touched. And of course, I'm talking about none other than Noof Nukem. Welcome, Noof.
Oh, baby, I love to touch people. Let's go. Boom, boom, kaboom. It's Noof in the room. Let's do it. Should be a hot show, some hot topics. We got a great panel, and the chat is already lit. Looks like Super Chat's already dropping, so yeah, that's the way to start. Let's get her going.
Well, listen, first of all, let me hit that. Let me hit that Super Chat. First of all, Smuds 246 drops an outstanding and very generous early $10 Super Chat. And he says this: can't make the live show, but I'm excited to listen later. Good luck, Boom and panel. Let's spread some love. The world needs it right now. And indeed, my friend, yes, we are going to be spreading lots of love and, of course, lots of gaming talk to, just kind of get people's minds off of a lot of the stuff. Again, taking nothing away from what's going on in the world. We do need an escapism, if you will. And I hope that this show and many of the shows that I put on a weekly basis does help you in that fashion. But next up, you know him now. This gentleman over here really doesn't need an introduction. He has become actually a fan favorite on the Double Barrel Gaming Network. He's not on one, not on two shows, but this week he's going to be on three. You know him as our Southern drawl, good friend to the community, Mr. Badbit. Welcome, my friend.
God, let me tell you here.
There it is.
I don't think I'm on. I'm on tonight's show right here. Then Thursday, I'm on. Am I on the Xbox Reaction?
You are.
And then on that same very night, I'm going to be reacting to the PS5 reveal event with you and all these beautiful people. And then on Friday, we're going to sit down with Jess Quote, and it's going to be a big hoot and nanny. I love it.
Hoot and nanny.
Well, listen, Mr. David, first of all, I actually forgot that you were going to be on 4 shows this week. So obviously, my God, you are the hardest working dude. And I can't thank you enough for actually being a part of the shows, because you do bring a tremendous amount of not only gaming knowledge, but you're also really one of the community's finest, along with Noof Nukem. You gentlemen, people really look up to and like your content, and also like talking to you on social media, and you both handle that with like absolute champions. But of course, there are several other panel members that we're going to introduce. Now, you might notice that the Tempest son is missing from today's program. And that is, of course, because his wife just gave birth to their beautiful little girl. And right now he's playing daddy and helping mom with the newborn. And he will be back next Monday evening, but he will be joining us on Thursdays PlayStation 5 reveal event post-show that we're going to be doing at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But let's continue with the introductions. Next up, you know him as our resident Cape Crusader, someone that the people look forward to for justice, and he got here well in the nick of time, of course, because he always is pimping out poor Alfred to drop him off in the Batmobile. Please welcome Cybernox.
Listen here, y'all. This is the best cowboy I can do. Not Mr. Bad Bit, but it's the best.
Listen, when you can do what you can
here.
do.
All right. That's right. Tip my hat. What's up? What's going on, everybody? What's going on, chat? It's going to be a great show. Shout out to Tempest, man. Congratulations on the newborn baby. We're all there with you. Miss you. Hope everything is well with the family. And yeah, it's going to be a great show. A lot of topics, and let's get to it.
Well, hey, fiddly diddly, I think I heard my brethren in here.
There it is.
Ain't that Uncle Noof himself? Oh, jeez. How are you? How you been?
Cletus is always good, man. I can't complain. How you doing? I just got off a wig in the moonshine. How you guys doing?
Cletus.
Well, you know, Cletus, you
Highlights
haven't been around in a while. I don't know if you've been, hiding out from the lore or anything, but welcome to the show, dude.
Of course, man. I'm always in the gutter somewhere along the lines. You know what I'm saying? I just been keeping busy. I've been keeping that of hindsight. The dentist bills is piling up, but I got to be working. You know what I mean? Got to keep the pigs in the pen. So that's how we roll, boy.
It sounds like you only have 3 teeth. That's a
You selling that moonshine?
It's great. I love it. This is the way you open a show, folks. And last, and in no way least, our resident GameStop know-it-all, someone that watched a Bungie event with his daughter, shared an amazing story, and you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about family. It's all about gaming. Please welcome one of the community's absolute finest, Gaming Forte.
Yo, what's up? Y'all ain't about to get me with this. I was thinking about it.
I was waiting for it.
Man, no, man, I'm not about to kill my voice trying to change it for 20 seconds. I'm good. No, man, it's good to have you guys be here with you guys. Been a long week, man. Looking forward to the stuff we got to talk about. It's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, you know what? This is going to be a great show. We, obviously, I write these shows in advance, and I say this all the time. It's very rare that we get a chance to get like breaking news where it's so monumental that it almost would behoove us to discuss. So we're gonna get right into it, folks. I'm gonna bring up a couple of pictures here too, of course, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. Now, the gaming community this afternoon was treated to, of course, this announcement from the official PlayStation Twitter account. It said simply, PlayStation 5, the future of gaming. Join us June 11th at 1 p.m. PDT time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the States, of course, on the East Coast. And this comes way of us from the PlayStation.com/PS5. So, of course, the entire gaming community was cheering. The last time I checked, I think it had over 120,000 favorites or likes, if you will. And I think it was retweeted almost 50,000 times because guess what? This is a very, very, large PlayStation community, and people are excited to know what their gaming machine is going to be able to do next generation, which is only a few months away. And Sony has confirmed and officially put it out there that yes, this is happening. And that's great, right? That's great. We're getting the date. The date is this week. We all figured it was going to be this week. We originally heard the 12th, and some people heard the 11th, and it turns out, yes, it is the 11th. But you see, now if you look at the title of today's show, right, it says two things. It says that we have new PlayStation 5 reveal, event information received, and it received cheers from, of course, the PlayStation community, excited. And I'm one of those people. But then, of course, you see in the same title the word controversy. And this is where we're going to get into the weeds a little bit. Now, here is something that popped up. This comes to us way of Sid Schumann. He is, of course, the senior director at SIE Content Communications. And he put out this document or letter, if you will, or however you want to put it, this information. And we're going to get into it because this is where the controversial part. Now, there are two camps here. There are two camps. So we'll get to those camps in a second. And this is what it said. It said, "Hi, all. Thanks for being patient and understanding while we rescheduled the PlayStation 5 event for Thursday, June 11th at 1 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. BST, which, of course, again, it's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We needed to step aside so key voices could be heard during this historic and important time." And you know what? Hats off, not only to Sony for doing what they did, but starting out this particular piece of information with that. I thought that was very big, and I thought it was very true. And I wanted to just say that I honestly, as a fan of Sony, I am proud that they did this. But this is where we get into the weeds, folks. Okay? It is this. Now that the event is confirmed for June 11th, I wanted to add that this pre-taped program will be broadcast in 1080p at 30 FPS, 30 frames per second. This eased the show's production process during a time when many of our team and developers are working from home. The games you will see on Thursday will look even better when you play them on the PlayStation 5 with a 4K TV, as you would expect. It's also best if you watch while wearing headphones, if you can. There is some cool audio work in the show, and it might be harder to appreciate if it's pumped through your and it might be harder to appreciate if it's pumped through your phone or laptop speakers. Anyway, enough talk. The update version of Jim's original post follows below. See you Thursday. So this is where I get into the again, I'll say it, the weeds of this particular opening topic. Now, a lot of people have, and I talked about camps a moments ago, and the camps that I'm referring to is there going to be some camps that I've seen on Twitter that says, good on Sony for getting out and tempering expectations, letting people know that, yes, you're going to see the 1080p, it's going to be at 30 frames per second, and it's pre-taped. Okay. There are some people that are bummed out about this. As a matter of fact, some people have even gone on to say that they're disappointed with what they expected, one of the biggest events of 2020, that for gaming, not for world dominance, but just for gaming, because we're going to keep gaming in the conversation. And our good friend, Mr. Badbit, was a guest. We were talking through DMs. He was very vocal on Twitter. You know, Joe, I want to go right to you immediately on this because you had a much different opinion, not only myself, but many people on Twitter. What were your personal thoughts about the clarification that came in this, I guess, open documentation to the community?
So I really liked it. Like so first off, enter the PlayStation damage control. No, so I'm a communications graduate. I like a good, clear message from time to time, and I like when expectations are set clearly, right? And I think a lot of people want narratives. And that's the first and foremost thing. So the people are complaining. Who are they? They are the people that want to push a narrative that, like, you know, I don't know, Sony sucks and Xbox is better, right? Just like the painting with the broad brush there, or whatever, just trolls. And they don't want a conversation. They just want to poke fun and troll because that's fun to them. Whatever. You use social media the way you want to, right? So a lot of people also forget, and it's the same people that kind of made fun of this announcement or called a huge controversy. But Xbox gameplay reveal was not in 4K. The original stream was not in 4K.
No, it certainly was not. Yes,
no,
it was after the show. It was in 4K. Correct.
Yes, they uploaded the video there afterwards, and even I believe Colt Eastwood, which he's a mind that I agree and disagree with certain things on. He's just like, guys, both of them are going to do this. Both of them are going to be, Xbox and PlayStation are going to be 1080p 30 FPS. So I don't get the whole hubbub here. It really comes down to streaming, bandwidth, and compression. So when you have a huge major event, like I just went on the Twitch the Twitch front page, I clicked on the first 5 streamers up there, and they're all running, first and foremost, 360p. They're not even doing and then you could graduate, you could upgrade during with the settings, you could upgrade to what I've seen, either 720 or 1080, because people's bandwidth, when you're talking about a worldwide event, people's bandwidth is incredibly different. It varies from well, technically most Americans don't even have broadband still. So it ranges from poor to excellent. I'm lucky enough to have gigabit, but even with gigabit and streaming with 4K, though it's extremely rare that I get to see streams that are in 4K, because that's so much information being streamed to me, beamed from the cloud, that image is going to get compressed and that image is going to lag. there's several things working at once. So yeah, no, it didn't surprise me. I just liked that it was clear and concise from the beginning, going, don't expect 4K in the stream, right? Like, what's better? It ripping the Band-Aid right off before you get to the show, or after? And I think ripping the Band-Aid off immediately and setting the stage of what you can expect. And when they say, hey, wear headphones because we're going to show you some cool stuff. So we're already going to get to experience a little bit of what the next gen is offering. And then, yes, bear in mind at the same exact time that there are complications of working from your home as well. So I'm very much interested into seeing how that's going to work into what they've showed us. So have the previous state of plays been in 4K? No, they've been in 720 or 1080. Has Xbox inside Xbox been 4K? No. And that wasn't the ding that Xbox got. None of these streams that we have seen have been in 4K, and I think it's just a lot of people want to complain for complaining's sake. It's nothing more than that. I'm excited because I want to see new games, and I think that's
of course. I mean, that's it. And we talk about this all the time, Joe. And I think that you are very, very vocal about, power's power. And we're all going to be enjoying the strength of these consoles. But at the end of the day, we play games. Right?
Yeah,
we don't
and at
play...
the end of the day as well, like there are some people that are making assumptions that this thing won't be running at 4K, and it's like sorry, if you're thinking that, you're a big dumb idiot. Don't think like that. It's both of these consoles are going to be powerful. They're going to have 4K, and yes, obviously, the Xbox Series X is going to be more powerful, but it is at the end of the day, both of these consoles are going to be really fast and really, really impressive. I just, at this point, I'm excited more to see games like Resident Evil 8 or whatever maybe Silent Hills is, more than the box itself, Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. You know what? Let me just catch up a couple of super chats. First of all, Elemental PO drops an outstanding, very generous $5 super chat. Says this: good evening, gamers. I may have been a bit on fire with the Sony news, but it's been fun. And listen, Elemental P is a good friend of the show, and you know what? I mean, obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Oh, he drops. Elemental PO comes back again with outstanding $10 super chat and says this: no offense, but even if you can stream in the clearest quality, then you can give us 60 FPS for the feeling of the game. Sell the box to the casuals.
Yep.
I mean, look. Well, you know what, Noof? Let's bring Noof into the conversation here. Now, Noof, obviously, we didn't get a chance to talk prior to this show, so I don't actually know. But you know what? The one thing that I have to say, and I don't really like getting into this console war nonsense because I do support multiple platforms. Everyone knows that. Mm-hmm. But I do want to say, and I'm not going to call out anybody in particular because Boom doesn't do that. But the same people that I saw booing the Xbox event, and granted, the word gameplay was used, and I understand that disappointed some people, but they showed a shit ton of games. As a matter of fact, they showed a lot of games that I can't wait to play. Right. And that was really, it was poo-pooed by many, detractors in this community. And that same type of presentation is what I believe we're going to get. As a matter of fact, I would dare say that I think that if we get 2 Sony first-party games, we're going to be lucky. And we talked about this on Breakfast with Boom. I think Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be there in a big way, and I'm excited for that. But I think that this event could potentially mimic the Xbox event on May 7th, and there's going to be a lot of indies. There's going to be a lot of third-party stuff there. And I'm just saying that the same people didn't keep the same energy from May 7th to now. So I'm interested to know what you think about this. And do you agree that they need to do better, if you will, than what they're saying?
Well, this stuff comes par for the territory, especially from the fanboy perspective. It happens every time. So you got to take it all with a grain of salt. And like I said, just ignore the naysayers and go with your gut and go with the people that you trust and the people that you know, man. If you're excited, you're excited. And if you're not, you're not. And there's nothing else that's going to change that. But as far as this event, I'm extremely excited. I think we all are pretty much excited for what we at least think is going to happen. And that is the actual console unveiling of the PlayStation 5, which has been long overdue. I mean, we're all here for the content content. We're not really concerned as so much as how the content gets displayed. Sure, it's disappointing, but we're also in unprecedented times. We're in the COVID era right now, where a lot of these teams don't have the ability to strategize and team up and do the work like they would normally do. Everything's on the fly. Everything's being shipped. You're looking at bandwidth. You're looking at a whole bunch of different factors that play a massive role in the way that these companies now have to unveil their shows. There's some bonuses to the way that they're doing these shows. Obviously, they're not live per se, so they're pre-taped, which means they have a lot more leniency. They have a chance to make sure that this thing, it kind of goes smoothly. Whereas at the E3 show, we've seen in the past, things don't always go as planned, even though they do their prep and they do their stage things prior to. But like I said, it's tech, and a lot of times you're running on beta hardware and stuff like that, right? So look, we've all had internet connections in the past, right? Where you're trying to watch a video and it starts to buffer and it buffers, which I would rather watch a video at 720p and have it steady than watch a video that's supposed to be 4K and it buffers every 10 seconds. That stuff drives me nuts. So I think it's just playing it safe right now. They know that the fans will be patient. They just want to see what the content is all about, what new games are in the pipeline, how they plan to deliver their content. And then after that, they will catch up with it and they'll watch the 4K and the ones at the 60 frames. We're all here. We're not stupid. We know these consoles are capable of amazing things. If the current gen is already pushing the envelope in many perspectives, then I have no doubts that the next gen is really going to push the envelope as well. So, like, again, I'm here for the content. I'm not here for about how they choose to display it. At least at this point, give them a little bit of breathing room. Just be patient. We're going to see it in due time. But I think right now, most of us just want to see. We want to see what this PlayStation 5 looks like. Is it hideous? Is it awesome? Maybe they're going to start dropping some prices here. And again. As far as the naysayers and crapping on Xbox, well, that comes with the territory. I mean, both sides do it. Both sides will find a reason to always hate on whatever they choose to do and how they display it. So, I mean, I can't say any more than that. I'm super excited for Thursday. I hope some of this stuff finally gets behind us. I want some meat and potatoes to finally talk about. It feels like it's been a dry game news kind of time. Of course, like I said, the world's in chaos. It's not the priority right now. It's people's lives, safety, and human rights are a big issue. We won't go there. I know people heard enough about that right now for the time being. But I'm excited for Thursday, man. What else can I say? And let's hope Sony knocks it out of the park, sets the bar high, and then Microsoft comes in and blows the doors off when it's their turn to get around to it.
Well, I mean, listen. What could you say to that? I mean, obviously,
did I make someone go to sleep?
Yeah, no. I was actually just reading one of the chats, but yeah. I mean, listen. What could you really say? Real quick, let me just catch up on two of the super chats that came in, and the second one actually is a good point. So first of all, Justin Maroney drops an outstanding, very generous $10 super chat. Says people forget that this is just to give out information. Still, shots in 120 frames per second will not matter. I just lost it. It says, be happy with all the new information we're going to get. And then Eagles fan 76 actually brings up a good point. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this, though. Only thing I don't get is that if it's a pre-recorded, not live cast, why can't they drop it as a 4K 60 video? Mm-hmm. That was a problem many complained about Xbox. Mm-hmm. So, of course, Cybernox, let's bring you into the conversation regarding that exact question. Can you respond to that?
Well, that was going to be my point as well. I even agreed with him in the chat because I love the transparency that they're giving us, but I don't understand the execution. If it's pre-recorded, if it's something that the show, they technically have the show ready, right? Because they were supposed to showcase this last week. So they have the show ready. They have it, and because all they're saying to us is they're gonna render this at 1080p, 30 frames. Then they're gonna have to render a new file, if I'm understanding correctly, at 4K 60. But they have more than a week to upload this thing, even if they're doing at 4K or 1080p 60. Like I don't understand the reasoning behind that. They're not live streaming this thing. They can set it.
You're still uploading,
right? But a significant amount of data, right? I understand that. Yeah. So you're uploading that.
Yeah.
Right. But you still have you're a week away, technically, let's say, or more than a week away. Oh, no, not a week away. It's the 11th, right? So you have a few days for you to do this. I don't see that being. I don't know why they're doing. I mean, they kind of, gave that statement, but kind of like what Eagles fan alluded to. Why can't they give us at least the 60 frames? Do 1080p 60. The first, I said this even about Xbox. First impression sometimes is everything for Jimmy and Bob down the street watching this thing, right? So why not show it to at least some form of capability that's going to wow them? I mean, I understand Sony has they have always been, I've said this times and times again, like magicians at showcasing their games. When you watch a Sony trailer, you get hype. Doesn't matter. Sometimes doesn't even matter the game, right? We watch this and you're blown away. So I have no doubt that this will be a good event, a good show. The quality of because let's be real, a lot of us will be watching this at 1080p. This event's 9 o'clock in the morning, right?
No. This is at night, dude. I mean, it's going to be 4 p.m. here.
4 p.m. here, yeah. So I don't. This is I don't understand the reasoning for doing 1080p 30 frames.
Again, I think that is what Twitch allows you to do. I'm not aware, so I'm just speaking blindly.
Yeah. But I'm sure they could have done 60 frames at least, though.
I get totally talking out of my butt here, because I'm not the magician when it comes to tech and whatnot. But like, if Xbox can't do it, PlayStation can't do it, it does have to. For me, then comes down to, okay, well then there's some type of technical reasoning as to whether Twitch can't handle the bandwidth that you're sending me, because again, you're doing double the frame rate. So maybe that's something where it's like, hey, can you kind of dumb it down for us so we're able to reach out to Berlin while at the same time in New York, while at the same time in Tokyo. So like, it's a massive undertaking that I think and I'm sorry to cut you off here.
No, that's fine.
We're just like, well, why not here and just like Bumble F, New Jersey, and
I got you.
It's much
probably
larger
some limitations scope on an international scope.
Yeah, and that's what I think. A lot of people look. I see a lot of people that are naysaying this, and they got like the Xbox GPU as their icon, and so it's just like, well, we're not here to sell to you at this point. You know what I mean? There's no convincing that I can do to tell you otherwise. It's kind of like that's made up in stone. But
I'm sure they're gonna do. That's fine. I'm sure they're gonna do a great event. I'm sure we're gonna be wild. But I think something that's extremely smart about this event too is June 11th, and on June 12th, I think the embargo lifts for The Last of Us reviews.
Yes.
So it's gonna be something. It's gonna give you like a 1-2 punch. You're gonna see that event, and then obviously they probably have some kind of behind the scenes look at what these reviewers are thinking, and if they're doing well, it's going to be okay. You got a great event on June 11th, hopefully, and then June 12th, you're going to get great reviews on The Last of Us too. So
just remember, they can show off a bunch of games like Grounded at 4K 60, and no one's going to be impressed by that shit. So there you go.
Yeah, right.
True.
That's true too. So yeah, I mean, I honestly don't mind. We love to watch these events live, and see it first, and then you can always go back. That's what happened with the Xbox event too. You go back and you watch it at its full fidelity, So I'm sure they're gonna do great.
I mean, listen, I think I think we're all excited to see what Sony brings to the table. Is Horizon Zero Dawn going to be there? Is some sort of a special remaster that we're going to talk about in a second going to be there? We don't know. But you know what? I have to get Gaming Forte's opinion on it. See, Gaming Forte, obviously, you were there for the May 7th event, and I know your opinion on it, and a lot of people's opinion were that they showed games, and at the end of the day, I thought that's what it was all about. But no, it was a pre-tape, it was pre-taped and it was pre-recorded, and it was sold to us as being gameplay. And like I said, I'd be the first one to say I was disappointed with the Assassin's Creed. I expected gameplay. I expected controller in hand. I've said that half a dozen times, and I'll say it again. But when you hear again, this is where I have a little bit of a little weirdness to me, and I'm not taking a shot at Sony, but I have never seen an announcement for a program, and then an hour or so later we get this this cookie cutter information. Oh, well, listen, just give you guys a heads up. It's pre-taped. It's gonna be 1080p 30 FPS, but the games, I assure you, they're gonna look good. Wow. I mean, look, I'm not saying that the house is burning, but I'm saying that normally I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I'm interested to know what you think about this Gaming Forte.
Okay, so I have two thoughts on it. One, I'll just talk about the games first. I don't care when it comes to. I just want to see the games. Right. I always tell people I am all about. When it comes to playing the games, I'm always about gameplay over the graphical fidelity. So that's never going to change. I'd rather experience the game and have a great enjoyment of how the game feels than how the game looks. So it's a little different when you're watching video. I don't understand why they can't, because Twitch, let's think, I can't hold them accountable for one thing, because Microsoft did the same freaking thing. That's the one. Right. You can't say one's wrong without the other. And that was the one thing I said about Xbox. I love the show. I just wish they would have streamed it at a fidelity that normal for your first experience. That's what you want to see. A lot of people are going to watch the stream and kind of be taken back by the way it looks, and they may not come back unless someone that they know that's close to them say, hey, go check out the 4K 60 frames per second VOD that Xbox put up, which, if you didn't go check it out, it's a completely different experience than it was watching the first time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The one thing that Sony's doing, and I agree with you with the cookie cutter response, but they're smart. They went back and read what the heck happened with Microsoft, and Microsoft did a great job with the show. It was the other things around the show, the narrative of miscommunication and, Aaron Greenberg going out there and hyping people up, making it feel like it was going to be more than it needed to be. So as much as I kind of hate that this is what is happening, we're in a socially time right now where everybody's paying attention to every little minute detail that a company is saying. So with them knowing that, they're going to come out and say, you know what? And this is the thing. If this would have happened last week, we probably would have killed them regardless, just because they would have never came out and said, because trust me, this show that they're putting on is the same exact show they were going to do last week.
Right.
Just a heads up here, guys. Aaron Greenberg just tweeted, we have not pushed anything back. Our plan remains to have our next digital show in July, and the teams are working hard on that.
Well, they already, we know about they were talking about the June event got delayed, but the actual Xbox, the first party event, didn't get delayed. They're talking about the other stuff.
The hardware and services event has been pushed into August.
Which is probably the smart way to do it, so you can show off the games and not another piece of hardware. But so I fight with it, but I also understand, because it's a narrative out there right now that gamers are tired of just seeing like companies not telling them exactly what they're getting yourself into. This happened. I'm not going to get into it again, but like I said, Bungie put on a show that went off without a hitch. It would no glitches, no nothing, but the information they gave people made them upset because they had to sit for an hour and a half when they thought it was going to be a 5-minute event. Now, take that how you will. They got upset about it, but they weren't upset because the show was terrible. It was the information that was provided to them that was terrible. So when I see stuff like this, I'm like, look, Sony is smart. They're reading. It's a thing about going last. If you're last to the party, you know every mistake people made on their way to that party. You know you know where the speed traps are. You know the people that know where the cops are. You know where all that stuff is, because everybody else went there early, and you happen to just skate through at the last second. So I am disappointed that it's going to be 1080p 30, because Mixer can do 4K 60. We've seen this at E3 when they're streaming the event directly to your house.
Yes.
So that was the thing. That's why I really can't knock on them, because they did the same. Microsoft did the same thing. Even on Mixer, their own platform, they streak 1080p 30 frames per second.
Yeah,
so I don't understand what the narrative around that is, but it could be like Badbit was saying, it could just be restraints, but it also could just be as simple as, like they said in their statement, people are working from home. This was put together from people working at home, and
it's pre-recorded.
It is pre-recorded.
Yeah.
And but now this goes back to another thing. Why don't they just upload the 4K version and not the 1080p version? Now I agree with that. I don't know what I think it's something about this whole event thing that everybody wants. They want everybody to they want to have a chat bar on the side of the screen. That's basically what this is. They're saying we want a chat bar on the side of the screen. And we want to see the responses as the event is going on. And the only way you could do that is through a premiere where you're actually streaming the event. And then because even with premieres, it still streams. And then it just uploads a VOD later at the resolution that you have it set for. That's when it kicks over to 4K, 60 frames per second when they upload it separately.
Okay,
that's the reason I think they're doing it. They want to see that chat bar to get a temperature of the room and how people are excited about it. But I just feel like that's the wrong way to show it off the first time. But they're smart by setting expectations, because the last 3 to 4 weeks have shown if you don't set expectation, not only your people will just be disappointed, like what they said, all the people on the other side of the aisle that want to see you fail and they want to talk crap about your console and say, oh, your system did this and did that. It gives them more ammunition too, and they understand that.
Yeah, but it also, like, in comes the Xbox damage control. The thing is, right, when it comes down to it, again, like, it is something that it comes down to logistics for both PlayStation and Xbox. And I do think at the end of the day, you have to think about where, again, like, one of the main things about, like, communication is who you're talking to and where you're talking to them. And when you're talking to a mass amount of people on an international level, on peak internet times that vary around the world, you have to understand who you're talking to and where you're talking to them. And you're talking to them not on just YouTube or Twitch or Mixer, but you're also talking to them on Facebook and Twitter as well, whatever other streaming services that there are. And surprisingly, like, Facebook is actually pretty big, which blows my mind. But, like, you're talking to them on various different platforms. You're also have to take in mind, why not 4K 60? Most people don't actually have 4K 60, right? You also have to give into the account that a lot of people are going to be watching this, guess where? On their phone. So the one thing that they can control is how you're listening to it. And that's why they're like, put on headphones, because whether you're listening to it on a PC or tablet or, wherever the case may be, bam, it's right there. You're getting to experience a little bit about it. So
no, I can't give them that. I can't get them that escape, just for the simple reason that even at a higher bit rate and a higher quality, audio sounds better too. Way better when you're streaming at a higher audio.
Again, this is not kind of a piling on the rabbit kind of a thing.
No, definitely not.
This is, but these are questions that I didn't see anyone asking, and we're asking tonight's show because this is a gaming talk show. This is breaking news. This is the news we've all been waiting for. It got canceled last week for a good cause, and again, I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm proud of Sony for doing what they did. Okay, but I'm gonna say this, and I have to reiterate this again, and I really want to get the feeling of not only the chat but the panel. I'll keep being that I'm talking to Forte. Forte, have you ever seen anyone make a big announcement and then an hour later drop that very cookie cutter? Oh, PS, by the way, watch it here. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. Oh, and you know what? We're doing some special audio work, so don't just watch it on your PC and use those speakers, and don't listen to it on your phone. Plug your ears in so you can actually hear it. To me, I gotta be honest with you, my expectations went from 100. It's like a lukewarm 68 right now. Because again, not trying to be the guy that's saying that the building's on fire, but I'm just saying I've never seen that. Putting out all of these precursor kind of expectations prior to the event is, I think, ridiculous.
Well, I hate to say get used to it, especially when it comes to what's going on right now, but they literally have taken listen, like you just said, you were sky high on what you were expected to get from this event. They literally crushed your expectations to the point where you're like, I'm not at 80 or 90, I'm at 60. So if you go into this event and they still knock your socks off, you'll be like, okay, wow. You'll forget about the whole, you'll forget all about everything you just said, because it doesn't, because the end result is you saw games and stuff that you were interested in. And that's all that matters in the end. They are literally just doing themselves a favor and saying, listen, forget all of that. We about to give these people the biggest caveats they've ever seen, and we are going to put it out on our blog so we can't even be mistaken that it came from us. So they are literally telling everybody, like, listen, it does not matter what y'all think. We are Sony. This is a power move, and we're basically telling you this is what we're giving you, and you're still going to love what we're giving you because it's going to be freaking amazing. That's what I think this is, and kudos to them, because this is what most companies don't do. They actually stand by and they say, hey, that's what it is. Now, the one thing I want everybody to pay, this is what I'm going to pay attention to. I got on Microsoft about the whole 4K 60 because they have Mixer and they do it all the time over there, and they didn't. The only reason I didn't crush Microsoft is because if you look at the stream that they did versus the VOD that they uploaded, the stream actually had, Aaron Greenberg, they actually participated and they broke the actual stream up, the VOD up with them talking about stuff in between. If you go look at the actual upload, it's nothing but games that they show, with the exception of the middle part where they were showing developers and they were talking and stuff in there. But the whole Aaron Greenberg, that's all cut out. That's not even in the
no, it's not.
4K, that's not even in the 4K stream. So what is Sony's is going to be? Are they going to be uploading the same? Because I guess they're going to upload it. They're going to upload a 4K version of it like they did for The Last of Us reveal. That was at 1080p too, and they uploaded it to 4K like 10 minutes after the VOD. So are we going to get the same reveal that we got when they streamed it, or are they going to do, or are they going to cut some stuff out to actually, make it somewhat plausible why they actually did it? Because they were talking and they were streaming, and it's easier to do it that way. Because if they just upload the stream like they did with Last of Us, I'm really with you guys then. Why the heck you need to do a 4K version of it in the beginning and let people see it from the beginning? But I'm good with it. I just think Sony decided that this is what they wanted to do, and they're saying Microsoft, people gave them flack about it. I don't know. They didn't look at Bungie because this was already in the works, but I just saw this happen 2 days ago with Bungie, and people got on them about expectation setting. So here we go. This is your expectation. Like it or leave it. It's really going to come down to you. But I think everybody's still going to enjoy it because I keep hearing about these games they're going to show off, and that's all that really matters.
Right. I mean, listen, look, at the end of the day, if they show me a Metal Gear Solid revival, I'm going to be hyped. If they show me, you know what I'm saying? So obviously we're going to see, I'm expecting Horizon Zero Dawn. I will say this, if I don't see Horizon Zero Dawn 2 after both guys from Guerrilla Games said, hey, listen, make sure you tune in, I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna be disappointed. I'm expecting to see something, but real quick, I want to
see what Elemental Pito said about
So I'm actually gonna get to the super chat right now. As a matter of fact, Elemental Pito drops an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. He says, will Sony drop the date for Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition on Steam during the event? That's a possibility. I
They
don't.
could.
They certainly.
You don't think
could
that's
for
going to
sure.
divide their audience?
No, they're
Not
not
at this
talking about
point.
that.
I mean, it's
Nah,
possible. And it says X Hollywood drops a $2 super chat and says this: can't Sony just boost its show to 4K? That's funny. I see that. I see the pun there. Eagles fan.
I see what you did.
Eagles fan 76 drops a $5 super chat and says this: with the Xbox hardware event pushed back to August, is this where that we get price, pre-order, and Lockhart? So this game of chicken goes until August. Listen,
Nope.
I got news for you. Again, we're going to talk about this particular situation in more
I got
depth.
some words on that.
Okay, we'll come to you in a second on Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast. But I got news for you. You see, we knew Microsoft's event was coming in July, so everyone was like, "Well, when in July? Boom! Is it going to be the second, the third? No, it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle of the month." And I'm going to tell you why. As everyone has been seeing, today's date or in the next few days, the world is kind of starting to open back up. And I'm not saying that we're going to see everyone just go back like it's nothing, but people are going to be returning to the offices. And it makes a lot of sense why all of a sudden then that we get this information at the June event that was supposed to happen for Microsoft, where it was software and hardware and services, was pushed back all the way until August. I think that not only are they going to be able to produce this in 4K 60, I think we're actually going to get a presentation from people working together. Now, would they be wearing masks? I don't know. But I think that the further we get away from where we are now, it's more likely that we're going to get the people back in the office in order to make these, put this production value behind the next two events from Microsoft, whereas Sony is doing what they're doing. It's the 11th. It's going to be what it's going to be, and it's going to be that. But I do want to move on to the next topic, and it is a big one. And if you look, I'll put it this way: as 2020 continues to unfold with the gaming space, more and more information is starting to come out regarding the Xbox Series X and, of course, the PlayStation 5. And to say it's a great time to be a gamer would be considered a bit of an understatement, in my opinion, especially if you're looking forward towards the future and of course, next generation. Now, with that said, one of this generation's most talked about console exclusives has to be Bloodborne from software or from software, and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Now, on the lines of what people like to compare it to Demon and Dark Souls title that's known for punishing its players with intense difficulty, but of course rewarding the gamers with huge personal feelings of accomplishments. It has quickly become a quote-unquote cult classic for the PlayStation 4, even many equating it to the game of the generation. And I think somebody on this panel may actually say that. Now, listen,
I think that's actually a fact. I don't even think that's what.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And hold on a second. Now, I would disagree with that, but that's for another time. Listen, I'll say this: in what I'm calling one of the biggest stories released in recent weeks, news dropped on Friday afternoon that sent the gaming world into a complete frenzy. As a matter of fact, someone on this panel nearly had a heart attack. And we're going to get into what he had to say. And then, of course, we're going to bring Newfin and the rest of the panel right after that. Now, look, in a tweet from renowned Twitter community member Nimble, a.k.a. Nabillion, at Nabillion on Twitter, he had a lot to say on what's being dubbed the Bloodborne remaster. Now, he says this: rumor, Bloodborne remaster coming to PC and the PlayStation 5 in parentheses soon. Developed by Q-Lock and Blue Point Games. Better textures and models, better loading times, and more. I says QOL improvements. It's supposed to be running at 60 FPS at 4K in ultra wide support. Coming to Steam apparently. Now listen. We got some additional confirmation when the article was run by WCCF Tech, who quoted another renowned Twitter poster by the name of Slothborn, aka at Casey Explosion. And here is the story that really sent us into, I guess you can call it a firestorm. And this is what Casey had to say. So about that Bloodborne PC port. You would have been hearing about this today anyway, but because, as far as I understand it, it was due to be announced at the now delayed PlayStation 5 event that was scheduled for today. Now, as I said earlier, I'd share more info about it. So what I can confirm is that it's not just a PC port of Bloodborne. What was supposed to be revealed today was Bloodborne Remastered HD Edition that was coming to the PlayStation 5 and PC. I don't know any release dates as of yet. And this is what he closes it out with. The last detail I'll share is that From Software themselves are not doing the port, but the company doing the remaster are one that I have a huge amount of faith in judging by other games they've ported. I will not share who that company is, but you sincerely will not be let down. Now, I'm going to go to Joe immediately on this. Yeah. Joe, when I sent this to you, you wrote to me in all caps, boom, stop effing with me. Okay? Because obviously, for you personally, Bloodborne it holds a tremendous place in your heart. And to know the potential. Now, look, I'll be the first one to say I have Bloodborne. I played about a few hours of it. I am terrible at it. I don't know why I never got into it, because it reminds me of like a Neo more than a Dark Souls. And I loved Neo. But I'm interested to know, what are your thoughts and theories on this potentially being a launch title for the PlayStation 5 this fall? Would that be the best game on that launch list?
I mean, why not have the best game of the generation like carry over to the next? You know, a game so good it's not just the best of this generation, but the next. Like it's what Mr. Babbitt always dreamed of. I got a big soft spot for Bloodborne, man. Like, this is gonna be a game, if true. I'm not gonna lie to you, be a little let down. I want a Bloodborne 2. But if it is developed by Bluepoint at whatever this HD remaster remake thing they're doing with it, I'm totally on board. On board with. But it does leave me with a few questions as to what this does mean for their other games.
I'm glad. You know what we're going to do is we're going to we'll talk about Bloodborne. Sure. And then we're going to back end this conversation. We're going to come back to everyone, because that is the big question. And I don't want to just overshoot that, because I have some theories. Okay. And I think that a lot of people are concerned regarding the, again, we'll talk about it in more detail after, but just in regards to Bloodborne, for you, is this a smart move for Sony? Because you got to remember, you called it. You said that this is more, this is more than a cult classic. This is considered by many to be the game of the generation. Now, not everyone agrees, and I would be the first one to raise my hand and say, no, I don't agree, but I could not challenge someone's opinion, because quite frankly, Bloodborne is loved by so many. How big of a deal would this be, not just to see it run at 4K 60, but to have Bluepoint Games doing it?
Bluepoint's big because they've done excellent remakes and remasters.
Yes, from specifically the original,
for Sony. Also, the Metal Gear Solid
Shadow, right? Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, they did Shadow twice, actually. So they did Metal Gear. They did the Ico Shadow collection. Then they did Shadow again. They did the Uncharted collection. They've done a lot. Like, they are the remake masters at this point,
and they're really good at it.
Yeah, they're really good at capturing the essence, the soul of what makes those games tick. And so I think this is very much a test for this game, because I think they want to see if another studio could capture the magic and not have it relied on From Software, because From is getting to this point where, they self-publish in Japan. And then you also see that, like, they're also working with Namco Bandai, and they're also working with Activision. So they have multiple teams at this point, and I think Sony wants whatever sequel of Bloodborne it will be. They want to see if they don't have to solely rely on From Software to make said game. So I think this is more of a test than anything to see if people would be okay with the idea of letting Bloodborne go to another developer. And honest to goodness, I've said this multiple times. They're the only studio that I have any faith in doing anything. Like if someone's just like real talk, if Kojima's like, yeah, I'm never going to touch Metal Gear again, the only person that I would trust with that is Bluepoint. Because again, they know how to take the essence of said thing and have it carry on. So to me, I think that's a huge.
That was the rumor that came out very, very late last year that Metal Gear Solid was getting a remaster, and I'm not talking about just some, touches up on text. I'm talking about like a remake on the lines of Resident Evil 2 by Bluepoint.
Yeah, and we do know that Bluepoint is working on multiple projects.
Yes, at least two. We know two.
So yeah, this is cool, but there's also broader implications that I got some thoughts on. So
yes, and we will be coming back around to it, because when he says broader, I think he really is going to go in deep on this particular one. I think we all will, simply because there's certainly more questions than there are answers, and it's going to lead to a lot of speculation, and a lot of people could potentially be disappointed with the way Sony handles this. But again, we're not blaming anyone yet. We're going to talk about it like adults. But Noof Nukem, listen, you and I, we're the kind of gamers that if a game breaks our balls to the point where we want to throw controllers, then it's fucking not a game for us, right? Usually that, in fact, is the case. And you know what? Especially when you have limited time, when you are working, like for instance, now a lot of people say, wait a second, Boom, you're retired. You could play all day. Not when you produce 4 shows. So trust me when I tell you, the Minecraft dungeons, the man eaters, those games you could jump in, sit down for 35 minutes, 40 minutes, really just enjoy your gaming. Works for me, because I know it's going to sound crazy, folks. I don't game as much as I used to, which is why I haven't hit 300,000 gamer score. I'm close. I think I'm about 20 something thousand away, and I should hit that. But when you talk about Bloodborne, Noof, I don't necessarily know if there is even anything worth talking about, but I want to get in more so into not the game itself, but the potential and of having this game remastered by Bluepoint, who we know is an amazing developer, and actually be a launch title for the PS5. It would be a big deal. What are your thoughts on the implications of having this remaster launch this fall?
Well, it gets a 0 out of 10 on the old erection meter for me. Let me tell you that. So yeah,
I'm full math, dude. I
You went from midnight to 6 o'clock.
He's flying the old Bloodborne flag over there. Look, man. Look, I am the complete opposite. I am not a fan of From Software games, and it's not their design. It's not their games. I went out and bought Sekiro. Tried to like it as much as I could. I wanted to give it an honest effort. Got pissed off with it immediately, and just gave up on it. I was like, no, this is the same old stuff. There's some, like I said, every gamer is different. From Software's games appeal to a different sensibility, I guess, than where I am emotionally and mentally. I don't have the patience for. I don't even have the patience for excessively long games anymore, let alone games that are very difficult. I want to play to enjoy my games. I want to play. I like a little challenge. I don't want to be walking through stuff with one-shot kills. But a lot of these games, I got enemies with life meters and levels and stuff like that. It just, these games do not appeal to me, which is why I can never get into stuff even like The Division. Like just that stuff totally rolled over me. I was like, no, I'm not into this. Thank you. But the game is going to be huge. If they remake it, it's going to sell like hotcakes, because again, there is a massive Bloodborne fan base out there. I don't think the game needs a remake or remaster. I mean, it only came out several years ago. It looked and played just fine as it was. Like Lethal Papa said in the chat, just bring the backwards compatibility and knock off the remasters.
We're going to get into the weeds a little bit later, and I don't think a lot of people are going to like what we have to say, because I'm going to say this. And listen, Joe is our resident PlayStation representative, but I want to say this about him. When he talks about the PlayStation and he talks up the brand, it's because something excites him. But you got to give this man credit that when something is a little fugazi, he will be the first one to kind of ring the bell and be like, well, just a second, which is why we're gonna split this topic into two. But obviously, I kind of figured Bloodborne wasn't your quote unquote thing because Sekiro wasn't. And I bought Sekiro. I bought the collector's edition, and I still have it. And quite frankly, I am just as terrible as ever before, because you know what? And it's not that I don't have the skill. I'm more of an open world adventure collectathon kind of a dude. That's why I enjoy the Far Cry games. That's why I enjoy the Assassin's Creed games and games of that type and that nature. But I still want to support these companies, and I will give them a shot.
Let me just say, with any of these guys, and maybe down the road, it's something that would help. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from the From Software faithful, but even have adaptable AI in their games. Adaptable, so when basically their algorithms show that players are struggling, they're getting their butts handed to them, whether it be a boss or certain part in the level, the AI will be adaptable to the point that they just kind of numbed themselves down a little bit. So still challenging, but they kind of, okay, we're gonna, something happens. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be a big selling point, because I think more people would be encouraged to buy the games and play through them.
Yeah, unfortunately, From Software fans aren't that accommodating, and that's the thing that really does suck, because I think like Star Wars Fallen Order has proven you can have a game that is a From like experience, and you can have
that one.
What's that?
I didn't like that game, and that's exactly why I didn't like it. I did not like Fallen Order, because
but the thing is, like,
me too much of those games.
The thing is, though, like the point I was trying to make is
you could have done that through the story mode, and
exactly.
Listen, and here's the thing:
you have easy, hard, normal type of modes, unlike in Bloodborne, where it's just like, nope, you gotta learn. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I completely get it, and again, I know that you're kind of chomping at the bit. That's why we're gonna move through this particular topic, and then we're gonna come back around. Cybernox, you, my friend, are someone that has been, again, excited to talk about this. Are you a Bloodborne fan, and do you think a remaster, even though the game's only a couple of years old, considered a cult classic, game of the generation, we've heard, to be remastered by none other than the spectacular team at Blue Point Games, and even more so, it could potentially be a launch title for the PS5, knowing that they don't have a lot of big first-party exclusives in the pipeline yet. This would fill a gap for a lot of people. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know where this is gonna fall. So I've never played Bloodborne, but I've played enough of the From Software games that I think I can give my fair opinion on it. I played Sekiro, the Dark Souls 1 and 2. I haven't played the third one yet. I played the Surge, so they're pretty much. I love that combat system. I've grown to love. It feels very rewarding to me when you can actually, there's some sort of dance there between you and the AI that you're trying to get to. But man, I'm not sure. I kind of agree with Noof. This game is 5 years old. They want to do a remaster now because this is kind of like the PS4 launch, right? They didn't have a lot of games come out, so what are they doing? They're just gonna remaster and see what they can get out of, or just so their fan base have something to play right away on the new system, pushing the hardware for the games, pushing those games to its full fidelity, let's say. I think this is it's more of a test of how many other remasters they can do. I'm not a big fan of remasters. Remakes I am. When they do a remake, yeah, like the Resident Evil 2 remake, that's phenomenal.
Resident Evil 3, the Mafia 1 coming out later. Right. That looks phenomenal.
I even mentioned to you guys before too, Resident Evil 3. I thought it was, you got the wow factor with Resident Evil 2, but with Resident Evil 2, to me personally, I was just like, oh, I got that wow factor there, and now they're just pushing these one right after the other on us to see how much they can sell. Which, I mean, I understand it's a business, but for Bloodborne, man, if I was a Bloodborne fan or a part of that cult that you mentioned, Boom, I don't know how I'd feel about it. I'd be 50-50. In a way, I'd be happy that I can play this game on my new machine, but like you said, it's also coming to PC, so it's a catch-22 for me. We can get into it more later, but
yes, we're gonna come back
yeah,
around. It's
so
gonna be.
I'm 50-50 on it. I think I don't think it's right. Maybe they just, I will get back to it on it. So I don't know how I feel about that one. 50-50 for me.
Okay, and of course, and again, this is the A part of topic. B is coming right up, but Gaming Forte. Look, we know, or we listen. Let me rephrase that before I get booed in the chat. We suspect that Sony's first party output isn't going to be as big as what we've seen in 2018 and what we're witnessing in 2020 with of course The Last of Us 2 and Ghosts of Tsushima. I mean a lot of people considered 2019 not a strong year for Sony. I mean, when you look at them, they did have a fair amount of strong first-party titles. They didn't review the greatest, but they still had first-party titles, and you got them like bookends. Beginning of the year, you had Days Gone, which I thoroughly enjoyed. 30 hours into it, and after that, I got to get back to that game. And then, of course, at the end of the year, we had Death Stranding, and in between, you had a couple. You had the a couple of remasters in there. You had a few smaller. The Dreams was one of them. Concrete Jungle was another, but they were still first party titles nonetheless. With the launch of the PlayStation 4, slimming the pickings were slim, let's just say. Obviously, Knack didn't blow anyone away. I bought everything that they had, and I actually quite enjoyed Knack until it just became so ball breaking that I was like, you know what, this is not for me. Killzone.
Please don't say the Savior's name in vain.
Savior's name in vain. So you heard the same thing. We're getting a Knack remaster for the PlayStation 5. Good on you, Joe. Good on you. So I mean, we don't know what the launch titles, but we know that we're not getting the quote unquote, like the kids say, bangers, because they're all in development, right? I mean, I still want to have hope that Horizon Zero Dawn 2, but most people have already let me down gently, said, boom, don't expect that this year. Maybe in March, maybe March 2021 on the anniversary of the first release. But when you hear Bloodborne getting a remaster, from of course, not from software, but from Blue Point Games. A lot of people get excited because Blue Point Games is very, very talented. Is this something you want to see happen? Are you a Bloodborne fan? Gaming Forte, I think your mic is muted.
I think we lost him, guys.
I think we lost.
Oh boy.
Well, you know what? We will come back to him. All right, because what we're going to do is
He's got muted.
He went to the chopper now.
I was muted. I couldn't get off the chopper. I was muted. No. What did you say that frame rate resolution and stuff was? What is it going
according to the inside source says that it's 60 FPS 4K.
Ooh, did I hear something about when you said PC ultra wide?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'll give you the exact breakdown once again so you can see it. This is what he's saying. He says this: better textures and models, better loading times, more QoL improvements, 60 FPS, 4K ultra wide support.
Oh, okay. So that alone right there just got me excited. So I played Sekiro at 1440p, 3440 by 1440p, which is ultra wide. You don't know what you're missing if you never play a Souls type game with that type of field of view and you can see everything going on around you. It makes all those encounters so much easier to do. It's kind of like cheating, I'm not gonna lie. But listen, man, I'd rather have a remaster than just have, rather have a remake than have a remaster. But I think this game in particular, the reason they're doing it is because they have, unfortunately, it sounds like they have no plans in making a Bloodborne 2, at least where From Software does it.
Right.
So this is a good chance, like Babbitt said, to see what Sony Bend can do and if they can like become the stewards of that franchise, especially since Sony does own the rights to the franchise and not from software.
Well, yeah, they own the IP.
They own the IP. So if they can get one of their in-house studios to build it and make a comparable port of it, that means they are more familiar with the infrastructure of the game. They can get assets and they can actually, and they'll more than likely get people from Software to come over and help along with the development just to make sure it has that Souls-like feel of a game. But I think this is really good because it almost makes it very true that this is truly coming to PC. And I think the main reason that they're doing a remaster of it is just so they can announce it alongside the PC version. Like, if you're going to give everybody a PC version, you might as well update the graphics, put it on PS5, and tell people that, hey, along with it coming to, it's being remade for PS5, you're also getting it on PC at this date. That's why I kind of don't think you're going to get a Horizon Zero Dawn. A lot of people are asking about Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC and when they're going to announce that. I think
that's
when
they're
they're
ready,
press
release, I think.
Yeah, I think when they're ready to announce Horizon Zero Dawn 2, they're going to be like, it's going to be like one of those, it's going to be like a bait and switch. They're going to be like, hey, not only are we giving console players the Horizon Zero Dawn 2, we're also giving long-awaited PC fans Horizon Zero 1 with all the DLC, the complete edition. They're going to announce all that stuff at the same time, which is going to kind of like mitigate how console fans are going to feel about those games coming over to PC. The reason they're not going to really have to do that with Bloodborne because it's a first-party game, but it was made by a third-party studio at the time, and I think that's just going to be the narrative they're going to roll with. But I think it's an amazing move. Getting your games in more places will never be a negative thing to me. I just prefer having something remade than remastered, but this game was early in the generation. It was literally in the first 2 years of it, so it's like
5 years ago.
Yeah, so 5-6 years ago, and people been clamoring for a part 2. What's the best way to give them a part 2? Give them what they already had, but let them play it a little bit differently.
Let them pay for it again.
And technically, yeah, I guarantee this will be probably a pay for again. If Sony wants to do the right thing, they'll do what PC does. If you already own, like they did it with Mafia, if you own Mafia 3 on PC, you automatically got the remade version for free.
Yeah,
that's something I think a lot of these console manufacturers need to do. We'll see what they do, but ultimately, it's a good move to do just because the franchise has been kind of dormant for a lot of people, and it's a lot of people want to see this game. They want to see a part 2, but if you give them the first one redone with the graphical fidelity that they should expect, like it's something like how Sekiro got, it's a win-win.
You know what? Again, and we're gonna walk this back around to the front of the line, and look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. We know Sony has zero problems closing out a generation with a game, i.e., The Last of Us. Fantastic game. Didn't like the shooting mechanics as much, but the game is one of my favorite games. And then the launch of the PlayStation 5, not launch day, but within the first year, we got a remaster. Now, I'd be the first one to raise, man, I bought it. I'm a part of the problem, and I wanted to see it in better graphics. Hopefully, it controlled better. It did slightly, and I beat it multiple times on the PlayStation 4. I really enjoyed the story. I love everything about The Last of Us. Okay, with that said, Sony is notorious for recharging their fans. And I've seen the Earth Defense Force, the Sony Earth Defense Force. We know you guys are in the moon. We know you're there. We know you're ready to strike. And I think they're going to be coming for this podcast shortly. So if it goes out, you know who got us. But all jokes aside, there is a very ugly precedent that could potentially be pushed, a narrative being pushed that I don't like. And Joe and I, we talked about this. We could potentially, again, be part of the problem because we do want to see these games, look better. But here's the problem. The problem is this. When you look at the other side of the aisle currently, Microsoft has already come out and said that your games, your collection is going to come forward with you. And because of the machine learning that the Series X is going to have, your games that ran at 30 are going to run at 60. Now, not every game, select games. Games that ran at 60 are going to run at 120. Games that never had HDR involved are going to have HDR. This is madness. And again, in the gaming world, I think everybody, the 300 plus people we have here, we all have obscene backlogs. Now, just because I played a game and I put 440 hours into Assassin's Creed Odyssey and have every achievement but 3, doesn't mean that Johnny or Philly Eagle, for instance, a good friend of the show, let's say Philly Eagle didn't play it and it's just in his backlog, it's sitting there, and he wants to experience this on the Xbox Series X. All he has to do is load up the digital or pop the disc in, and he's getting all the bells and whistles, and he's going to see us. And I'm jealous of him, because he's going to see a better version than I saw playing it when I did. Right now, with that said, we have a lot of questions come towards the Sony camp. Right. The backwards compatibility, kind of walking on thin ice here. We don't really know. They're not talking about it, right? We hear something called Joe. If you can refresh my memory, I don't know what they were calling it. It was a fresh start or fresh play or something like that. Forward start or jump start. That's what it's called. It's called a jump start. We don't have no idea what the hell jump start is, but I will tell you what we do know for an absolute goddamn fact is that Microsoft is using software. Their software solution is why they're able to do backwards compatibility the way they are. Whereas Sony took a different route. They're using the hardware, trying to brute force this. And from what we heard, they've been having trouble. So now comes the question. Joe, and I know that you had some questions, and I'm going to hand it over to you right now. Could we see Ratchet and Clank come over in an HD collection that we have to buy? Could we see Uncharted 4 or Lost Legacy? Could we see Horizon Zero Dawn, the PC edition, the complete edition, with all the bells and whistles running at 4K 60 and your eyeballs are bleeding, come over to the PlayStation 5, but not for free?
Yeah, these are the questions that Sony. It is the thing that, like, real talk, it annoys me, right? Because it's just like, sources have claimed that the PlayStation 5 is on fire currently, and it's just like, all right, enough. It's like rumors says that the PS5's backwards compatibility only plays one game, and that's Knack 2. It's just like, okay, we got it. There's rumors, there's speculation. We all got an inside source, y'all. Like, so that's the thing that they got to lay out. And I like when they originally announced the PlayStation 5 reveal event, they were just like, we're talking about the games. We're bringing games. And we saw a lot of people move over their events for the PlayStation 5, i.e. EA was just the latest one that moved theirs a few days back, and then PlayStation took their slot. So we've seen a lot of people, everybody has a PlayStation 5 Xbox Series X game that they want to show, but they're kind of their hands are tied at this point, right? So we're all waiting for what PlayStation has to offer. And now here's the question. There's another rumor of some website that I've never heard of that has also said, like there's going to be remasters of, God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon, Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank, you name it. The first party lineup is just going to be remastered or remade and resold to folks. And now with that, God, I hope that's not the case. Like, that's a terrifying thought, like that their literal first lineup is just games you've already played, because that reminds me a lot of the Wii U.
Yes.
And that's not something I want, right? Like, remember they launched for like Batman, and like, no, Batman wasn't even launched. It's kind of like the Stadia problem, right? Like, they don't even get Cyberpunk on release. So that is a fear. Yeah, there you go. That is my fear, that they're going to try to resell it, and Sony's going to get arrogant again. My hope, my greatest hope, is that a lot of people forget who really did coin cross-buy. Now, I don't think they're as awful as a lot of people or do claim that they are when it comes to cross-generational stuff. Like with the PS3, that was one of their downfalls, was they literally put a PS2 inside your PS3 so it plays PS2 games, right? And it bit them in the ass. And I think the reason why like Last of Us, you know, was ported over to the PS4 is the god awful cell architecture, right? It's almost impossible to port a game from PS3 to PS4. It's an arm and a leg type of thing, and 60% of the PS4 audience never played Last of Us, so it just made sense monetarily. So, you know, they've also made cross-buy a thing with PS3 and PS4 and Vita games. That was a big one. Yeah. So they've been kind of hot and cold, and that's what gets me very nervous. There's not one precedent that says either thing. What I am expecting is PlayStation to have backwards compatibility, but it pale in comparison to Xbox. Not because the offering that PlayStation has is bad, but because Xbox has gone over and beyond when it comes to backwards compatibility, and even doing these little enhancements above the fact to get you on board. So what I am hoping at the end of the day is, yes, you make a remastered collection of like all these games, but they are something that you can upgrade for free if you already own them. In something we already see, like on PSN, I bought Astrobot digitally, though I had it physically, and all I had to do was, because it knew it as a disc game, all I had to do was re-download it, and bam, I had it digitally. So hopefully it's like that. But that is my fear, that these remasters, these remakes are going to be sold to you. I really don't want that to be the case. I also, a part of me thinks that isn't the case because of how well each one of these games sold. It's not like how with Last of Us, again, you had so many people jump ship from 360 onto the PS4 that gave you a reason to go out there and upgrade or go out there and buy that game again. But I'm just hoping it is right now. There's a whole lot of, and the biggest thing that they need to do is that there's a whole lot of he said, she said, right? You know, a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. You got to lay that, you got to lay your cards down, because Xbox have shown everybody theirs. You need to show, they need to show you their hand, really.
I mean, that's a great point. First of all, we'd like to welcome to the show Tempest Son. Hey, dude, better late than never. Welcome, dude.
Yes, thank you. I am. I might be playing with fire here if she starts waking up. I'm holding her right now, so if she starts waking up, I'm gonna mute myself. No baby screams live on the air. But
well, listen, dude, we appreciate even if you're here for 5 minutes, and we're gonna get to you next. Noof,
Cool.
listen, I got to come to you because you are probably going to be the most vocal on this. And as we as gamers, someone that proudly support multiple consoles, have seen before, time and time again, Sony is not shy with trying to milk their fan base. We've also seen people actually get punched in the face and say, "Thank you, sir. Can I have another?" And you know what? That's fine. I hear you. If you love a game, I'll put it to this way: if you told me that I was going to get a Spider-Man running at 4K ultra settings, and it was $30, and I could get a whole new set of trophies, I'm going to be honest with you. Again, I admit that I'm a part of the problem, because you know what? I do want to see these games. As much as I absolutely adore Horizon Zero Dawn, I would love to see that running at 4K ultra settings as well. The question is, will Sony try to milk their fan base? And the reason why I asked that question isn't just because it's the question. It's because Sony as a company has been really close to the vest, and almost to the point of refusing to talk about the smart delivery system or type of system that has already been put out there from Microsoft. And some people in the industry, I'm not going to mention names, I don't want to shout anybody out, on that have been on recent podcasts that are in the business, are saying that the reason why Microsoft is not only pushing the narrative backwards compatibility of generations, because they want to, give back to the consumers. They want to make you feel like, if I buy a new console, everything comes with me. They're doing it because they know Sony is not. Now, what are your thoughts on these remasters?
Well, like I said, there's a positive and a negative to it, right? Because obviously, for every diehard fan that goes out there, what the hell is that? For every
diehard.
yeah, for every diehard fan that goes out and buys it because they want the biggest and the best, right? There's also a fan who's going to buy the game who's never experienced it before. We saw that with The Last of Us 2, or sorry, The Last of Us Remaster. Kind of came out toward the end of the PS3 life cycle, and then they carried it over in a remastered, upgraded version for the PlayStation 4, and people bought it like hotcakes. Again, it's all about pricing more than anything. I'm all for it. Like if they're going to remake the game with brand new graphics from the ground up, let's take Ratchet and Clank for example.
Yeah,
I never played a lot of the original Ratchet and Clanks for whatever freaking reason. But that game, when Insomniac did that game and upgraded it, oh my god, it is one of the nicest platformers and one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 4. Like I said, Blue Point has done a great job with either remastering their games or remaking their games from the ground up. So at the end of the day, it's your money, because for every person that says, well, they should have invested it into a new IP, well, because game development now takes so long and it's so expensive. For a lot of these companies, that's how they can get money to fund the new IPs, as I've said before, is to basically go with a property that you know and love, that you know will sell, that you know is going to bring you in some revenue, some bank. What do you think, like, Activision brings out the Call of Duty remasters? Because they have such a large fan base and the Call of Duty brand is so popular, those games are going to sell well immediately. And people that, like, for us, if you're familiar with the games, you already bought them and played them, maybe you won't buy them. But you know what? I bet you there's a lot of kids out there that just got their first Xbox One. They just got their first PlayStation 4. They know the Call of Duty games because they probably missed out on last generation, and they're coming in during like the later end, towards the Black Ops 3s and that sort of stuff. And they're seeing these games and they're going, oh my God, I got to get that game because it's Call of Duty and I love it. Again, it doesn't really matter why you play. I'm not really for or against. It's one of those middle of the road kind of things. I guess it's all in how it's done, because again, we've seen some incredible remakes, and even with Microsoft, we've seen the Halo Master Chief Collection, which is more of a fan service to the games. They brought that out. They did an amazing job with it. Obviously, it had a rough start and it built along the way, but look where it is now, and you look at how much better that collection is now than what it was when it started. And if you're a Halo fan, why would you not want to have all those games on your one disc or accessible, and they look better, they play better, improved multiplayer? You look at the Gears of War Ultimate Edition. That game was phenomenal. That was totally worth the money. And like I said, that's the thing too, is if you're going to bring them out and price them again, don't at least price them according. Don't charge full. I don't think you should charge full price unless you're really going all in. Like, it's a full collection of games and it's full features and it's something new and something old but redone. Maybe so, but outside, keep it respectably priced, because that way, if you're a diehard fan, it's not a big deal. Okay, I go out and throw down another $40, maybe $50 at tops, and I pick up the definitive edition. We see this all the time. We do this with our movie collections too. How many of us bought the original movies when they come out on your DVD or Blu-ray or 4K? Well, probably not so much of the 4K, but DVD or Blu-ray, and then all of a sudden,
and rebought it. Yeah.
I went and bought almost my entire DVD collection in Blu-ray because DVDs suck. You look at the quality of those, and then you get the quality of a Blu-ray, and especially some of these remastered Blu-rays where they've really improved the quality of the visuals and stuff. So it's, again, you speak with your wallet. Either you don't like them or you do. But I'm right in the fence. It just depends on how much effort they put back into it. And like I said, if those games are successful, and more often than not, they're not bringing out like games nobody heard of. They're usually bringing out games that already had a decent track record. So they know that right off the hop, they might sell 2.5, 3 million copies within the first year, maybe more. And that money, because it takes less time to redevelop and remaster or even remake a game in some cases, because the code is there, the storytelling's there. You're not building the storyboards from the ground up. You have the principles. Then there you go. Boom. They make some money. That money then can be further invested into new IPs. And that's where it is today. It's that gamble. It's a massive gamble these days because game development is so damn long and so damn pricey.
I mean, look, I love the way you tackled it, because the way that you handled it was from multiple perspectives, and I thought they were fantastic talking points. But what I want to do is, before I get to Cybernox and Gaming Forte, I want to bring in Tempest Sun, simply because we don't know how long we have him. Tempest, before we get to you, let me just catch up on 3 of the super chats that just came in. Eagles fan 76, your generosity, my brother, I cannot thank you enough. He drops a $5 super chat and says this: I don't see Horizon Zero Dawn until late 2021 and Spider-Man 2022 due to how many PS5s sold. It makes no sense to launch those games until volume is up. And that does make a lot of sense, because if those are going to be PlayStation 5s only, PlayStation 5 game titles only, they're going to want a lot of consoles on the market. That does make sense. Spider-Man, a good friend of the show, drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Hey, dude, thank you for being here. He says this: Sony pushes their event and are called compassionate. Microsoft is falsely accused of moving their event because they're scared of Sony. I get torn of this console war. And a big super chat came in from Stamps 1646. Well, first of all, dude, thank you for being here. But more importantly, your outstanding generosity. He drops a $20 super chat and says this: I just want to thank the panel. Keep up the great work. You guys are fantastic. Well, dude, thank you so much for the super chat, but more importantly, being here and listening to the show, because at the end of the day, without the fans, without the people to listen to the show, well, we don't have YouTube channels. But Tempest Son, you and I have talked. We talk privately almost on a regular basis. We're more than friends. We're brothers. And when you hear Sony could potentially, again, folks, potentially, grain of salt, start bringing their older games as remasters and charging, is that a bit of a gross tactic?
If this was at the beginning of this generation, I'd still think it'd be a little bit of a gross tactic. But on the other end, we don't have what Microsoft is currently doing, so it'd be like, oh yeah, I love that game. It'd be nice to see it with a new coat of paint, right? As a matter of fact, a lot of Twitter just jumped for joy because The Reckoning is coming out. Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yes.
That's being remastered. That's extremely excited, right? So the reason it's different now is because one company is essentially giving you, and it's not going to be on every game, but on a lot of games. And we know that's true because we see a lot of the 360 games brought to the Xbox One. And they have 4K enhancements, 16 the texture filtering, 16 times texture filtering, you name it. They have features, and they're all features that the developer had to not lift a single finger for. So things are changing, and I believe now Xbox is kind of changing the narrative on this type of stuff. And as a matter of fact, even for the developer, you might say, oh, well, if they get to remaster it, they get to make some extra bucks to help fund this, fund that. Well, instead of putting any money towards the remaster, with all the features, by and large, they're remastering your older games for you. Xbox is HDR and games that for free. Yeah, HDR and games that never had it before, and we the 4K, even exceeding, finding a way to push games that had a 30 FPS cap or a 60 FPS cap, pushing them to beyond their limit. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know what kind of secret sauce they're cooking up there, but if they're telling us they're going to do it, I'm pretty sure we're going to see some titles that were 30, now 60, and now 60, 120. So somehow they're doing it. So essentially, that is a free remaster that the developer doesn't have to pay for. And let's not forget, even if it came from a TV show or whatever, like with Witcher jumping by like 530%, that's this generation. But if you look back to Red Dead Redemption, how much that jumped in sales because that got its not remaster treatment, but it came out and it was 4K and it darn near looked like a current gen game.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
It looked phenomenal. So the reason I think it's gross now, more so than at the beginning of the current generation we're in, is because somebody's changing the game. And that's all there is to it. And I kind of feel like Sony, I think they might get a little bit of a pass. And I think the way they're going to attack this is if they come out with a PC version of any of their games, they're going to make some enhancements for the PC version. And they're going to use that as an excuse to then
charge people.
Charge people even on the console. And you know what? if it's an exclusive game, and I'm being honest with you, and I really loved that game, really loved it, and I could only play it on a Sony console, would me thinking it's gross stop me from buying it? No, I'd still get it because I really love that current game, right? But on the other hand, competition breeds greatness, for both of these companies. So it's one of those things where I really feel like Sony has to follow suit. Don't know if they can. It's seeming like right now they can't, but in the future, I feel like they can. And this is something they have to do because a lot of people are downplaying this playing old games stuff. When it's a new game that now has 4K, 60 frames, whatever, I mean, some people are like, you're crazy. Because I said, just imagine a scenario where if they wanted to, take a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which still makes my eyes bleed when I see it on my Xbox One X, right? Imagine a scenario where because that's a dynamic resolution, they pump it up all the way to 4K, like all the time.
And it's running at 60.
Running at 60. Instantly, that game is much more like a current gen or a next gen game than what we've had. So I just think it's something that Sony needs to adapt and follow. And I do think it's because Xbox is changing the narrative. I think it's a little gross, but you know what? I mean, Sony's going to do Sony, man. You ain't going to stop it. And like I said, even though I think it's gross, I'd be a hypocrite if I said I wouldn't buy a game that's only on their platform. And
that's the thing, like what like it is Xbox changing that narrative because, like, real talk, if like again, because I don't know, I don't want to speak out of term whether it is there is backwards compatibility or not, but like if the scenario was just, oh yeah, you can play your PS4 games on your PS5 and nothing, no boost mode, no nothing, right? It was just like you're just playing your PS4 games. And Xbox was just like, yeah, you just play your Xbox game, no boost mode, no nothing. Everybody would be like, okay, this is fine. But because Xbox is going out of their way to say, like, yeah, like Assassin's Creed, great example, because as much as I love that game, there are times where, like, literally you're on the high seas and then all of a sudden you hit a visible loading screen wall. Or like textures don't load in properly. Yeah. And Xbox is going, okay, none of that. It's just gonna take the architecture we have. It's gonna make it so that never happens in your game again. Well, that's fantastic. And to see PlayStation not do that is, reading the temperature in the room for the PlayStation fans that I'm aware of, my audience. We don't particularly care that much as long as we're able to play our games. We don't mind. But we do also appreciate, and maybe it's because my audience is not toxic like other PlayStation audiences, but like, we do appreciate at the same exact time what finesse that Xbox has done. And again, I think this is a question that needs to be answered, and there is no way on God's green perfect earth PlayStation does not know what Xbox has done because they've laid it out perfectly.
Yeah. Now let me take what you just said, and you said your audience, they don't really care, and that's fine. But let's put a scenario out there where Sony was doing what Microsoft is doing, and let's take a PS3 game, a game that wasn't remastered. Let's take a game like Dead Space 2 or something of the effect of that. Okay. All of a sudden, Sony was like, "Hey guys." It's backwards compatible now, and it's at 4K or 1440p, whatever, and it looks better than it ever has before. Oh, and it's free. If you have your disc, you can put it in the system. Maybe then your audience would feel differently. I don't know if they would or not, but maybe it's just one company's doing it and the other is not. And I do think because of competition, I think Sony needs to copy Xbox on this one. They copy them on a lot of other things. This is one thing I think they really need to copy on them, and I'll be tickled pink, man. Trust me. It'd be fantastic. There's a lot of games on. I've owned every single Sony console ever, including the handhelds, PSP, Vita, both. And there's a lot of games. I play games. I don't play consoles, right? So there's a lot of games I would love to go back to. That if they got a new fresh coat of paint, I mean, I could go on and on this. So I'm just gonna, I want to hear what the other guys have to say. But it's a little bit. Things need to change, and one company's doing a phenomenal job of it, and the other, we don't even know what they're doing. So the contrast is there. I'm interested to see what Sony has cooking up. For all we know, this whole boost mode thing is going to be equally as fantastic as what Xbox has. And I hope so, because, you know, who wouldn't want to play the Spider-Man or the God of War 2018 and all that stuff, but just looking much, much, much better and running better. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, Phil says it's hard to describe the difference in the generations. Everybody, even on I think it was one Boom show just recently, we were saying, you know, listen, it's going to be hard to describe the difference between these generations. The difference is how they feel, right?
Right.
Well, if you take a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you bump it up to 60 frames per second, it feels different. And it's something that console players haven't had before. So especially if it's a game they haven't played before, and it's going to be on Xbox, and it's going to be double the frame rate, you know, HDR, all that buku stuff, then, you know, it's like a new game. It's going to feel much better than it ever has before. It is essentially almost like a new game. So I think it's great. But
well, I mean, listen, a great point of view, dude. I mean, look, and I'll admit it too. I mean, if you gave me Horizon Zero Dawn for $30, I hate to say this, but I would probably rebuy it. I probably would to get a whole new set of trophies, to play the game again. Give me all the DLC, but get it running at 4K 60. You probably. You'd get my money. The question is, and I'm going to go to Cybernox on this. Cybernox, when you see this happening, okay, now and again, we're only speculating here, folks. We don't have any concrete proof that this is going to happen, but we've seen Sony do it before. Now there has been a confirmation, documentation that Eurogamer got their hands on. It was an internal document that basically said Sony sent to all of their developers saying that any games that come out from July moving forward needed to work on the PlayStation, be programmed to work on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. Now, if you remember the beginning of last week, I did a video from an inside source. I don't get many tips. But there wasn't. My inside source basically told me that they observed 2 different product listings per one game, meaning that there was a PlayStation 5 version and a PlayStation 4 version. Now they didn't get into specifics as to were these games coming out in August or September or out already or possibly releasing tomorrow. No, we don't have any of the information. But again, when you hear that and you mix it up with this, there's a lot of unanswered questions for you personally, Cybernox. Do you see a problem of maybe, you know, Sony pulling a Nintendo and doing a lot of HD remasters because they don't have their first party bangers ready to go?
Oh, 100%, man. And I think it's I wouldn't say a full slap on the face, but just the fingers caught the face of the fan base. You know what I mean? I don't understand. And if you're mainly a PlayStation fan, like you will look across the street and there's another store doing everything for you. Like Noof mentioned this, Tempest mentioned this. If you already owned Red Dead Redemption, okay, the first one, it got enhanced and that game looks phenomenal now. You can go ahead and play it for free. Xbox already said it. You buy something once, and once it upgrades, if you're on that system, you buy your game once, it goes with you. Right now you can buy Bloodborne for $10. $10, and they're not going to be able to upgrade that for you for free. I mean, we're speculating, obviously. We don't know what they're going to say. Maybe they are going to do that. But Microsoft is pushing that narrative that you buy your game once and it'll go with you everywhere and you'll get those enhancements. So, man, I think it'll be do some fan service, you know, give the fans the 4K 60 frames. It's a games that, you know, count the frame rate does count. Like if you play Sekiro on the Xbox, it's still 30 frames. You play it on PC, you can get that 60 is a completely different game. So I understand that level. You know, I understand you wanting to experience some games you love in a higher fidelity, higher frame rate. That's all fine and dandy. But if you already own that game and going into next gen, like they should be able to give you this game, man. It's just I don't know. I know that's how it's always been, and Microsoft is slowly changing that narrative, right? But if you're gonna release Bloodborne on PC, maybe just charge the PC audience and tell your fans, "Hey, here you go. This is our way of saying thank you to you for sticking with us." And because kind of like what you said, if all the people who are gonna buy Bloodborne again is the Bloodborne fans, like, I mean, it was successful, but is that really, like worth putting all the resources in when they already have the game? That's, man, it's one of those things that I think we're getting Microsoft is spoiling us a little bit too much here.
And that's the
side.
thing as well. And again, I'm not saying like Sony isn't a dumb company, because oftentimes they are. Just look at Spider-Man. Well, they're getting it right so far because the MCU has it. But like we're already questioning, like, well, this doesn't make sense because so many people already have it. That's why I'm always going to be an internal optimist. I do not think that they're going to charge you for these games. And they're going to probably charge newcomers for these games for sure. But there's just something that tells me that it's so dumb. And trust me, when this happens, I will totally be dumbfounded with y'all. But like, it would be such an asinine move after seeing what Xbox is giving you for them not to try at least their best. And what would keep somebody from saying, if they do that, just buy it right now. While it's pretty cheap, it's $10. It's $10 right now, all the PlayStation hits. So you go ahead and you buy it now, and you're gonna get it on the PS5 if that's what you really want. And already all the fans already have it. Pretty much the Bloodborne fans already have the game. So who is this for? Yeah, I don't know. If they charge people, I think it's the absolute. To me personally, I think it's the wrong move. Absolutely. Show your fans some fan service. You got 100 million plus PlayStations out there. All you're gonna get is more loyalty from them. And if you charge them, if you charge your fans, you can get some bad press, while Microsoft is over here telling you, hey, you're gonna get all your games no matter where you play. Yeah, agreed. Boom, your mic's muted. Boom. Is Boom there? Who knows? Hey,
having a large backwards compatibility list is a huge boon for things like Game Pass, right? That's the other side of the coin.
Oh yeah.
Right, because it bolsters that lineup right from the get-go, and that's the thing, like being able to take your collection now anywhere, especially when xCloud becomes fully accessible, then man, that's a huge feather in their cap for them, because that's thousands of game instantly accessible through that program, and being able to take even your old games anywhere would be huge.
Yeah, just like Gears of War, like when they showed the demo for the Series X,
was it running 100 frames per second?
Exactly. With ultra graphics, 4K, and what was it, 120? Right, it was running at.
Yeah, I believe it was 100 frames. It could have been 120 frames. It was 100 frames.
So over at least 60, let's say that. And you know what? You're gonna get that if you get the Series X. You know what I mean? You don't have to pay for that enhancement. You're already getting it.
Well, it's funny. Bill Stillwell, who just left the Backwards Compatibility team to work on AR/VR. He was on the Iron Lords yesterday, and if you missed out on that show, man, he dropped some massive nuggets regarding something like Gears and how it's currently taking advantage of the Xbox Series X. And basically, when I hear that, it gets me ultra excited. But Gaming Forte, I want to lead what somebody in the chat said into a question to you. See, now there's a gentleman here by the name of Caesar Escobar, and he basically, before the question that I'm about to read, I don't know whether he was being facetious, trying to be trollish, but he had said, "I thought you guys did your homework or your background check," and that's insulting to me as a showrunner, because Mr. Escobar, if you received one of my show notes, it's like going to school. So understand that the work goes in. But he follows that by, when I asked him what he was playing at, he says this: just because PlayStation is not talking about backwards compatibility, you guys assume that the PS is effing it up. Well, hold on a second, Johnny Cat, because the problem with that entire statement, and I'm assuming that you're a PlayStation fan, one of the blind loyalists. Why aren't you asking how come they're not talking about backwards compatibility at this stage in the game? That's my question to you. So I will then pose this question on to, of course, Gaming Forte. Now, Gaming Forte, Microsoft has done something unprecedented. The transparency of their backwards compatibility, their commitment to making your generation important to them, making sure that your games that you paid for, whether that be digitally or physically, come forward with you. Oh, and PS, by the way, that backlog that you have that's about 78 games, the ones that you didn't get to are going to look better than ever before for the price of free. And that's where this conversation comes into it, because Sony has notoriously beaten their players over the head. I'm one of them, and I admit I'm the problem. I went out and bought The Last of Us original HD remaster because I wanted to see what it looked like on the PlayStation 4. So sure, I'm a part of the problem, but that doesn't make it right. And that was just one game. Now there is potential that, Bloodborne being remade. Maybe it's not a remaster. Maybe it's a remake. Who knows? We'll have to see if it's even true. Right. But you yourself see that this is a problem if Sony starts bringing their older titles like the Horizon Zero Dawns, the God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, the Detroit Become Humans forward and charging their fan base for up-res versions when Microsoft is basically giving away the farm for free.
So this is a difference in ideology when it comes to different fan bases. Me being a person that plays, let's get this first straight. Phil Spencer a long time ago said Xbox is PC, PC is Xbox. Long time ago, very long time ago said that. That was during the beginning of the Play Anywhere initiative that they initiated like back in 2015. So I always tell people, when we talk about this stuff, it's because we've been conditioned to this being the norm for Xbox at this point. Xbox people were a little upset about this when it first happened, about all their games being everywhere, but they were able, but they also caveated, they said, we're going to also give you guys games that you played on other platforms. And if you own, remember it started out, if you owned a 360 game, you just put it in your system. You only caveat, you had to be online so you could download the game to your system because it didn't run off the disk. It ran off software in the background. And we fought against stuff like that up until we got used to it. And I think 4 years later, Microsoft has set a precedence where a good 400 to 500 of their 360 games are backwards compatible. You started getting Xbox One games. Then the X came out and showed you what PC gamers were experiencing this whole time. Their library continually going forward, and not only going forward, getting incremental upgrades in the gameplay that you were experiencing without developers having to do anything. That was the first thing that Microsoft was able to do. Then you have Sony, on the other hand. Before, when it was still Shuhei in charge, Jim Ryan comes out and said, who wants to play old games? So he doubled down on the fact that his player base doesn't want to play old games. They want to play new games. So of course they rally behind that cry, like, yeah, y'all over there playing old games, y'all playing old games and stuff. So now Jim Ryan is saying that same exact thing, kind of. He's, they're saying we're bringing some games, some of the top 100 games. We know some of them, but we really don't know what the whole list is. And it's just ambiguous at this point. No one really knows what their true identity of backwards compatibility is. We don't know if it's software based, if it's hardware based. I think it's the main reason. So Microsoft is a software company, so they're doing everything on the back end. Developers don't have to do anything.
Nope.
So your game will just work. As long as developers say your game can play on this system, your game will work no matter what. No heavy lifting, no coding, nothing has to be done on their end. So I think, personally, being a person that came from that plays on Xbox, plays on PC. I love the fact that my library goes forward with me. Yes. That doesn't mean I'm going to go back and play those games. There's a bunch of games there. If I look at my Steam list, there's games I bought 7-8 years ago that I've never launched. I'm looking at my Steam list right now. There are games on this list, and I have over 2,000 games on my Steam list. There are chunks of games that I bought in humble bundles and stuff. With a whole bunch of games, and I've never launched them a day in my life. But guess what? All those games I can hit install 7 years later, and they will work. And that is the thing that I like the most about it. Your library continually goes with you. Now, if you are a person that don't care about stuff like that, then these conversations shouldn't bother you. Us talking about what we expect and what we want from a platform, and it just because it's the platform of your favorite choice doesn't mean that you should be listening to what we got to say. If it doesn't fall on your ears, then don't worry about it. It's not meant for you. This is meant for the people that are on PlayStation that kind of do want this experience. I want my PlayStation to have these games because I don't want to have to go out and buy them again. We gave them a pass during the PS3 because the cell archetype was so completely different from x86. x86 is completely different. So when they said we need to redo redo
The Last of Us.
Last of Us because more people didn't get a chance to play it on PS3. I understood that because they did. Look, there's 50 million more people, close to 70 million more people on PlayStation than there is Xbox. Where do you think those people came from? So that lets me know that there's a lot of people that probably didn't experience that game. So we were willing to say, okay, that's fine. Bring it on over. But now you're going from x86 to x86. And the only reason you're not doing it is because your player base will support you re-releasing games. Now, I don't have a problem with that if that's exactly what you want to do, but at least tell us so we can plan ahead, so we can know what we need to do. Maybe I was saving up money. Maybe I was using my PlayStation for collateral towards my PS5, but now I find out, wait a minute, these games aren't going to be that way. I need to get some more extra money together. That's why I always say more information early is the best information. If I was Sony, the one thing I would do, if you really want to go down this road of games not being backwards compatible for long terms, do what. Shout out to EA because they actually changed their thing with Madden. And now it's up to you. Now it's a year now because of public outcry of how you gonna make me wait and say that I can't get the next version of the game and I only have to this date to buy it, especially when the system may not even be available to buy because it's gonna be in such a supply restraint. So now they're giving you a whole year to do it. Why can't Sony do something like that? Why won't
well, again, that's just something we don't know. And
exactly
maybe that's what Caesar's missing the thread here on, right? Is that we are propagating the worst case scenario,
but that's all we got.
But what we do have is it's just nebulous, and that's why we are jumping to conclusions because we don't have we haven't had a linear story when it comes to Sony, because they'll say it's completely backwards compatible a year ago, and then they'll tell you when Mark Cerny wants to collect your ears that it's a select amount of games.
Yeah. And then they say 4,000 games by the end of the generation.
Right. Then they'll literally just take backwards compatibility off their promotional material. So it's Caesar to help guide you through here. We haven't had a clear message from Sony about what exactly are we getting. And that's why we are kind of assuming the worst, because we're kind of seeing them trail backwards instead of forwards.
Well, and you know what? In the dive down even further, what he is saying, so we know, we've been talking about these systems for the last 7 years. We know what the tendencies of these companies are. When Sony has a golden bullet, they shoot it.
Yes, they do.
They shoot it. They do not wait. They don't hold any prisoners. Go back to 2013 when they said we share games. This is how we share games. They shoot their bullet and they hold no quarter. So the fact that they keep going back and forth, and at first we kind of gave them the pass, saying they got new leadership. They're trying to figure out the design of what the structure of their message is going to be. But that was a year ago. The system is literally less than a year away, and we're still asking the same question. So So being a person that owns a PlayStation 4, has a ridiculously big library of games that are on that system, I kind of want to know what's going to happen with that library. Now, if they tell me that those games, most of those games aren't going to be compatible with PS5, guess what? That's not going to change my fact of buying a PS5 because I still want to play the games that's on it. I just want to be prepared for what I need to do. Do I need to keep this PS4? Do I need to have what do I need to do? And once I know that, then that's what I need to know. And Microsoft has been nothing but transparent for the last 5 years on what they were doing with their platform. And when they said Xbox is just Xbox going forward, you don't even have to even think about your games going forward because you already know that's going to happen.
No, I mean that's a fantastic point, and really, in truth, a great way to close it out. Now I know that he had Mr. Escobar had said something to the effect that Sony said that they're using software-based solution for the PS5, and that is incorrect. They are using a hardware-based solution, which is exactly why you're not going to have thousands of games available like Microsoft. Microsoft is using a software solution, whereas Sony, and this has been confirmed, and you can just go and you can check it and then write me, a filthy message on YouTube. That's fine, but I'm telling you, check it.
Hardware versus that's the difference between a hardware company and a software company. Yes. Software companies do stuff like what Microsoft is doing. Hardware companies, they're going to outsource it to somebody like Microsoft, which think about that. Do you think they want to give money to Microsoft every time they make a game backwards compatible to their system that they sell billions of copies of games to?
No, of course not.
They don't want to. They already giving them money for cloud infrastructure. They don't want to be even more in debt to them for anything that they need to be. So you kind of got to think about it like that too.
But look, I'm going to say this. First of all, this you never know how long a topic is going to get long in the tooth. And I got to tell you, this has been an incredible 2 hours. I can't believe it went that quick. But before we get out of here, I have to thank someone by the name of SP who drops an outstanding and extremely generous $20 super chat and says this: I love you guys. Well, hey, dude, we love you too. He says, I know the talk is about backwards compatibility, but let's not forget about Xbox reward program. I got almost 40,000 points, and that's not even half of what I got this year. He says, by the time the Xbox Series X hits pre-orders, I'll have about 180 to 200,000 reward points. Holy shit, that's awesome. Hence why I'm not worried about the price. Well, good on you, dude. I mean, that is awesome to have that much. I actually was going to buy Disintegration, which comes out next week. I really want that game. It's very Anthem / Ghost Recon. But I did reach out to the company, and I'm waiting for a response. I might actually be reviewing it for the company, which would be kind of dope. But you know what? Again, this has been an amazing 2 hours. I want to thank almost again, well over 350 people watching live. And considering how small my channel is, that is freaking awesome. And I want to thank the chat. You guys and gals are always awesome. And and even when we don't disagree, I mean, even when we disagree, you're always going to get treated proper here because everyone is welcome in this chat. But I just got to be honest with you. Be real careful about accusatory statements like, "Oh, I thought you did your homework." You could have simply just said, "Well, listen, I heard it this way," because if anyone that has been on my shows understands the work that goes into this is obnoxiously ridiculous. And that's all I'll say on it. I need to tell you that each one of my shows is 4,000 plus words. It's like an essay every show, and I do 4 of them a week. So just do the math. How much writing goes on and how much research that follows.
He's not kidding, folks. He sends me his notes. He sends us all the notes, and you're just like, hot damn.
Yes, they are ridiculous. But you know what? I always like being overly prepared. And like I said, we there are 3 topics here that I wrote. I spent over 3 or 4 hours writing. We didn't get to. I will bring those forward. But I want to thank the super chats that continue to come in. And Starlord14 drops a $10 super chat. Wow, dude, thank you for your generosity. He says this: Boom and panel, you're the best. Thanks again for the show. Well, thank you, dude, honestly, for being here, but more importantly, generosity. And I'll say it again. the super chats really do help me do giveaways. I haven't done one in a while, and I'm going to start up, towards the fall. A lot of new games, and I'm going to try and help out people by giving at least a game away on some of the bigger shows per show. And we're going to be working on that with Mrs. Boom, which is, obviously she's my product manager, if you will. She kind of lines them up, and I kind of just give them away. But without the chat and without having a panel of superstars, we couldn't have a show. So let's get to the outros, and we're going to start with, of course, our guest. And first of all, Noof Nukem, I know your Cletus popped by before, but were you able to, while you were waiting, head over to the airport and pick up Arnold for a quick pop in?
Yeah, he's always on standby. Apparently, like I said, he keeps a chopper at the ready. So what's happening, Arnold? How you been, man? I've been doing good, man. I've been here just the whole time listening to the show. You guys do a magnificent job. You had an all-star cast, a great panel, almost as good as when I came up with Stallone and we were doing the Expendables. That's what this is like here. It's always boom, boom, kaboom. Everything is going. The topics of fire. The chat is rocking. I love this podcast. I love all you guys. You're amazing. Keep it real. Keep it gaming, and I wish you all the best.
Well, thanks for being here, dude. And of course, we're gonna go right to Noof Nukem. Obviously, Noof, listen. When I say this, and I honestly and I truly mean it, I think that you're absolutely one of the community's most finest. Simply because not only do you interact with everyone, but you go out of your way to do these weekly game nights. Now, maybe they don't happen every week, but you just did one with Red Dead Redemption that was apparently a big success. And you have one that you're going to be doing either this week or potentially next week. But you also have an outstanding YouTube channel, and you have a weekly show, Gaming After Dark with the lovely Primal Eve. I want you to tell people about where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, about where they can also subscribe to your outstanding YouTube channel.
Sure. Best place to follow me on Twitter at Noof Nukem, simply because I'm always keeping people up to date through social media. Obviously, I have a channel of the same name. It's very small, growing marginally, but still growing nonetheless. Gaming After Dark, it goes down on Tuesday evenings at 10 Eastern, which is 8 Mountain Time. We will not be doing it tomorrow night, unfortunately, because Primal has other commitments and cannot make the show. So I've decided, with the state of affairs in the world right now, and of course with her having some difficulties and things, I would just leave it for this week, and we'll hopefully return the following week, and we should have some juicy news to get into then. So check out that podcast if you haven't done so already. She's a great gal. We have a lot of amazing guests. Boom was a guest on our show just a couple weeks back, so there you go. We have some top people coming out. We welcome people that want to be on my podcast. Just send me a message and say, hey, Noof, I'd love to join you sometime. I'd love to get some guests on and different perspectives and different people, all that different gaming stuff. So it's fantastic. But that's it for me, man. Chat's been awesome. Panel was rocking. Glad to be here, Boone. Thanks for the invitation, and can't wait to come back and do this again.
Well, thanks again for being here. Super appreciate that. And next, our other special guest. He's not really a guest. He's a brother. He's been on multiple podcasts. But quite frankly, he's become a fan favorite with not just my shows, but I think the entire community, simply because he's a PlayStation guy with a sensibility of someone that doesn't do console war shenanigans. You know him as Mr. Badbit. I know him as an amazing, outstanding panel member on many of my shows. Mr. Badbit, you have something called the Trophy Room. It's fantastic. It's thought-provoking, and quite frankly, it is amazing content. Do me a favor. Tell everyone where they can check out that show, but more importantly, follow you on social media.
Okay, I got a question first. Okay.
Sure.
I've come to realize that so right now you can follow me at Bad Big Games on YouTube. We have a fantastic, I love it. I love doing unboxings on my channel because they're wacky and they're crazy and they get me out of funks. With that, you can check that out right now. Tomorrow, I'll be having my PlayStation 5 reveal prediction show on Bad Bit Games, but it's 16, almost 17 minutes long. Would you watch a video that's almost 17 minutes long?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, because I do feel like I ramble on one portion.
No, I don't think so.
Is there
Because
gonna be? Is there going to be? Can I bring popcorn? Is it going to be that entertaining?
Oh yeah. I make some jokes.
Oh, then I'm there.
Absolutely. I don't think any video is too long, especially when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're bringing gaming knowledge. If it's a rant that's just a bunch of F-bombs, probably not.
If you go to 1705 MO, okay?
There's only one person I know on YouTube that can get away with rants like that, and that's Angry Joe.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you can follow that. You can find that video tomorrow at Bad Big Games. We talk about all things game news, reviews, unboxings, and then you can follow the Trophy Room there as well. It's a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. You can also find that podcast on iTunes, on Google Play, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate us 5 stars and all that jazz.
Nice, dude.
And also one more thing. So sorry. At Mr. Badbit on Twitter. We're almost at 1,000 followers. Let's do this game.
Nice, dude.
Hey,
well,
there
that's
you
good.
go.
Yeah, absolutely. Way to go. And Cyber Knox, let's bring you into the conversation. Thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us. Obviously, we know that family is always first, as we saw with, of course, the Tempest Sun. But it is great having you a part of this program. Really appreciate your thought-provoking opinions on gaming. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your YouTube channel that you've been adding some content to.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure being here. Boom. I'm Cybernox on Twitter. That's where I'm mostly more active. Hit me up on Xbox whenever you guys want a game. At Cybernox as well. Sometimes I do the streaming thing, over at Twitch. So yeah, and also Cybernox on YouTube. It was great. It was a great show. I love, having these discussions. We may not all agree on everything, but we can have, a civil conversation. That's what it's all about. Everybody listening to each other and seeing everybody's viewpoints.
Yeah.
It's great being here. Mr. Babbitt killing it. Noof as always. Gaming Forte. And boom. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Well, thank you again for being here. Super appreciate it. And last and no way least, obviously, Gaming Forte, you obviously are on a ton of shows. And that's because people really and truly appreciate your opinions and the knowledge of gaming that you bring with you. And of course, you are a tremendous asset to this weekly program. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, which of course you are very active, but more importantly, check out your outstanding and growing YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's always a pleasure being here with you guys, man. It's amazing. Noof, always love being on the show with you, brother. Make sure you tell Honor not to be late to that chopper next time, so we can get him in the show a little bit earlier. Outside of that, man, Bad Bit, always amazing content, man. I love what you do. Cybernox, boom. Look, man, the amount of production you put in your shows. I was the first person that was doing high fives to everybody. I say, look, Boom actually took a day off. I can't believe it. So congratulations on that. I'm glad you enjoyed your last day off last week. But outside of that, man, it's Gaming Forte everywhere on YouTube and Twitter. People probably notice. Yeah, people will probably notice that I kind of mellowed a lot on a lot of things that really go on in this community, because it kind of depresses me listening to people in this community talk about certain things. So I just try to keep my stuff as positive as possible and talk about the things that I care about. I know people don't too much people care about Destiny, but I care about it a lot, and I support the people that like have those conversations with me. But if you want to definitely touch about all that Xbox stuff and what PlayStation is doing, check out the YouTube channel. That's where all that stuff really lives at. But Wednesdays, 9:00, it's the Brat Podcast. Great show over there, man. Appreciate all the support you guys been giving. We just about crossed 2,000 subscribers on that channel. So shout out to everybody that's been doing that.
Nice.
Then we got Prime. I'm gonna say Prime Time. That's today. Jesus, getting the shows mixed up. Then we got Crossfire Friday nights at 7 p.m. And then I actually made a picture on Scumcast. I was actually available to get on there with Ash and Luca, and that was a very riveting conversation. Check that young lady out, man. I love her. I love the content she does. She's the realest person on YouTube.
She really is.
Meet
yeah.
When it comes to her opinions, and she will not hold stuff against you unless you lie to her. So make sure you come correct.
Or make her late for her hair appointment.
Or make her late for her hair appointment. So
her opinions are always much bigger than she is. We know
that.
My
God. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So is her hair. But yeah, check her out, and you guys have a great week, and we will see you later on in the weekend. Let's get ready for that Sony reveal, because I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, this is going to be another good week, a week of gaming. And of course, Double Barrel Gaming got you covered. There is going to be a lot of content coming from this channel, mostly live. Tomorrow, I'm doing a very, very small, I'm trying something new. I was put the task to review Maneater. which was I just beat today, and it's fantastic. And what I'm going to do is I don't like the videos because it's about a 4 or 5 hour production. So I'm going to do a small 30-minute show tomorrow at noon. I'm going to be taking some questions from, of course, the chat. It's just going to be me talking on the microphone. I already wrote my script for it, give you my spiel, if you will, for, of course, the Shark RPG, which is as good. It's so good it has no right to be. And you'll get the final verdict of what I'm rating it. I put up on Twitter, I spent well over 100 hours into that game, which is it's preposterous, but it's so bloody fun and it's so ultra violent. I think that if you like types of games like that, it may be up your alley, but you'll get them. We'll go into more specifics. And of course, on Thursday, we got you covered with the Xbox Factor podcast at noon. And then we're going to come back the same day, 8 o'clock that evening, to discuss the Sony reveal at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we're going to do it all again on Friday morning. And I have the privilege of having someone I've never had on the show before, Jez Corden from Windows Central is going to be a guest on Breakfast with Boom. And I'm really excited about that because me and Jez, I got a chance to meet him at E3 2019. Very, very personable dude. And to get to work with him on professionally is very exciting. And so, so that's what we have coming up. And I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. I hope it's important to you. It certainly was important to my dad, where he taught us this when I was sitting on his knee. And it made me not only a better man, it made me a better professional as a New York City police officer, which I served the city for over 21 years. And he used to tell me like this. He say, son, treat others how you yourself want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care. Good night, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.